almost a year ago to the date, I filmed a video where I went to a Barnes & Noble's and I opened some traditionally considered Booktok books. Alright, so we're gonna go to the bookstore. I'm gonna record thing on my microphone and on my phone. Let's see here. Can I get $100 on this? Did a little reaction to it, and that was that. Not long after that video, I had someone who educated me on what was actually inside of those books. I film a lot of my life, and I try to film a lot of it uncensored, and sometimes I make mistakes. And I think by including and talking about that book, I unintentionally, completely unintentionally, became part of the problem, which is an endorsement or normalization of that kind of content or behavior. Obviously, since then, I've learned a lot of things I didn't know or understand. I get it, not all Booktok people are into those types of books, okay? Like, there are normal people who are just trying to enjoy a little bit spicier of a book. That's what I thought it always was. I thought it was just like, oh, it's like a little bit spicier reading content. Things get a little graphic, that's okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm more talking about the extreme. That is something I think a lot of our modern society struggles with, and that is the separation of unreasonable people and reasonable people. There are reasonable people who are into Booktok. There are like normal, like just regular books that are just a little bit spicier or whatever, but then there are some that take that too far. And I didn't want to admit that I made a mistake a long time ago because I was so scared of controversy for the longest time that I didn't want to admit that I made the mistake, that I included a book that does not represent my moral value, which that inherently was a mistake as well. I don't care which way you try to frame it, dubious consent or any of these other terms. And I see a lot of other bikers on TikTok trying to emulate this because it is genuinely free views. But please, before you show off a book on your page or like talk about these types of subjects, I would highly recommend, so that way you don't make the same mistakes and have the same regrets that I do a little bit of research about the author or the book that you're going to be talking about. Because I genuinely think that some of the topics might surprise you. The difficulty of talking about this subject is, again, differentiating the difference between someone who's unreasonable and someone who's reasonable. And people get that confused a lot. In order to talk about a sensitive subject, you have to be willing to think critically. So like I said, there are people who are into Booktok who are completely reasonable and pure with their intentions. But there is some of that content that, like I said, does not represent my own moral value, and I regret having ever dived into those. Now, unreasonable people do exist, bro. There are people who take that stuff way too far. And I've seen it posted on TikTok before. You have these dudes talking about tying up girls. It's a little... I've talked about it on my page before. It's a little nuts. And then you have these dudes who I'm 99% sure are just lonely guys, because they make these videos that are like, oh, when you finally meet that, when that Booktok girl finally meets that 6-foot-tall biker boy who's tatted up and goes to the gym. I'm like, nah, come on, bro. Do I regret making Booktok videos? No. I was dating someone who was into that stuff at the time. I thought it was cool to merge the hobbies together for a little bit, but after we broke up, obviously fucking move past that. I just think that some of this regret is something that's important to talk about, because I do genuinely, I make mistakes all the time, bro. I'm 22 years old. I'm gonna get stuff wrong literally all the time. That's just living life in your early 20s. I get it. But I think it would be lost upon myself if I didn't admit that, yeah, I've made mistakes. I regret some things that I've said and done online. That's a big one that I've never really talked about. Especially since it seems whenever a biker talks about this type of stuff, like the Booktok people, they just like, they take it so personally, which again, not all of them are bad, bro. You gotta determine the unreasonable ones from the reasonable ones. And there's gonna be a lot of loud, unreasonable people in the comments, bro. I guarantee it, you're gonna see it on any of my platforms. It's gonna happen. There's gonna be some people being like, oh, well, you did it anyway. It's like, yeah, I did it, but I also made the mistake. I'm admitting the mistake. Pretty sure that video's been down for a while. I'm sure it exists somewhere out there. I hate it, but it is what it is. Whenever you post something to the internet, that is forever. I can't take that back. Because it's posted, it's saved, it's on some database somewhere. Someone's gonna have that video, and I'm probably gonna have to deal with that for the rest of my career online. This is just a long way of saying, like, think before you post. Maybe do a little bit of research, because maybe making jokes about a book that normalizes dubious consent, which is like the term that they keep using to describe this book, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think it's too soft. Yeah, that's just a bad thing for society. Look, I get I'm the world's biggest hypocrite talking about things that are good for society. I'm literally sitting on my bike. This is post-accident, by the way. Foot's still broken. No gear, because I'm just whatever. And I ride motorcycles and talk about degenerate things literally all the time. So I get, like, I'm no shining angel here talking about this. There's probably something I'm doing right now that I'm going to regret 5 years down the road. It's just bound to happen. I'm not born knowing any of this stuff, man. Like, you figure things out as you go. And that goes for literally everybody. I think everybody makes mistakes. It just so happens that a lot of mine are public and very permanent, but that's okay. It forces you to kind of take accountability a little bit. I mean, no one's forcing me right now with a gun to my head to talk about any of this stuff. This is entirely my own choice. But in the grand scheme of things, like, I am forced to take a little bit more of an accountability. Like, if you make a mistake with one of your friends or something, like, usually that stays between you and that friend. But to content creators, you have a million people judging you for mistakes or things that you do. But I just know if I were to have a conversation with myself a year ago, I wouldn't even recognize the person that I was. And so I hope that continues. And like a year from now, 2 years from now, I hope to be a completely changed person from that point on as well. I don't know, it's just kind of sick. Like, I can literally watch videos from a year ago and recognize patterns of like, oh, I would never say that or do that now. And it's just like, oh, that's growth. That's positive growth. That's a good thing. Yeah, the Booktok Gooters and the hardcore Booktok bikers, you guys don't scare me. If anything I said offends that groups, I literally don't care. I've been making primarily motorcycle content for years now. You guys are not my audience. It was cool bringing like the communities together for a little bit. If there are going to be people in those groups that defend the stuff that I was talking about earlier, then we're not cool. I don't like you. And for everybody else who likes the normal stuff, keep doing what you're doing. As long as you're not hurting anybody, you're totally fine. I think this person sums it up so well. It's dark romance. That is not what dark romance is. I'm glad that there's a lot of reasonable people who can understand what I'm talking about. And like I said, there's probably going to be a lot of very unreasonable people get angry and misunderstand what I'm trying to say here. But a big reason why I felt like the need to say a lot of this stuff is apparently there's been someone going around DMing very mean and threatening things to people who are just commenting on my videos. Like, not even negatively or positively commenting on my videos. Like, they're just commenting. And this person is just coming after people. And this is just that toxic side of that Booktok community, bro. To me, it just seems like it's a lot of very young girls who got very disappointed figuring out the fact that I wasn't their dream boy, Prince Charming biker. Oh, you're good. Now, obviously, I'd never go out of my way to, like, hurt anybody or purposely make a relationship go bad. I've dated a lot of girls. It just so happens the two that I dated publicly happened to cause a bunch of problems, but again, nothing necessarily too problematic. I wanted to make a girl happy, so I told her I loved her, even though I didn't totally mean it. I made a mistake, but whatever. Hey, it is what it is. Just because I made a mistake in a relationship, they want to come after people who are just trying to enjoy the content that I'm making. It's crazy to me. What it is they realize that they can't come after me because I'm not bent up about it. I know myself well enough to know that I have pure intentions. And so I'm like, that's why I'm like, I don't really care. Like, and behind the scenes and off camera, I was threatened. And so now that these Booktokers see that I don't really care, they're coming after people who are just like watching the content, which I think is a really shitty move. Just because you don't like me, you're gonna come after other people that are just vibing in the comments. I hate that. I hate the negativity because the world in general is just negative as it is. I don't know, it's just crazy. I can't imagine having all that time to do that. And it's also just crazy to me the way that people take comments and they just run with them, bro. Like, oh, you cheated on a girl. No, I didn't. I literally didn't. Or like people saying how I treated girls. Like, I didn't treat anybody bad. I'm the nicest dude in the world. I just got ahead of myself. I wanted to please somebody, so I told him I loved him, even though I knew I didn't. I should have known better. Yeah, probably. But Jesus Christ, dude, it's not like I was like a horrible person. There was this one like bike talker. I call him bike talker because 99% of his videos are just like thirst trapping in front of a camera, and then he just like has one video with his bike in the driveway. He was calling me like an abuser and all this stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? Because that makes it sound like you're like hitting somebody, you know what I mean? That's just a crazy thing. Because even some of my most hateful exes never said anything like that. I've done worse things to girls who have not said anything, and I still, like, I would never do that. That's crazy. Again, nothing intentional, but that's just being young and in your 20s and making mistakes. I will say, after all that girl drama happened, this is something I didn't really mention, but after my exes were going online talking a bunch of crap, my DMs were absolutely flooded. I don't commonly look through my DMs. Like, sometimes if I recognize the username because I have my notifications on, I'll click on it and see what they're saying. But I swear, after that whole incident, bro, it was just like bing, 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 bing. Which I know it wasn't the accident because the accident happened a few days before. My exes waited till the perfect time to when I was laying in bed incapacitated to do all of this. But regardless, I just know majority of people, like, they don't care. It's literally just the Booktok people that think that they're banding together. It's cute, it's adorable. I hope you guys are having a lovely little afternoon. I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my ride. Made sure to vote today because today is the election day. As of recording this video, it is election day and I made sure to vote, so yeah, go ride your motorcycles. I love you all and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.